So what is up, guys? Brendan Suter back, and today I'm here with NFL Week, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Andrew Luck, Marcus Colston, and Chris Olave. It is Week 12 predictions. Anyways, message out to all my American viewers, happy Thanksgiving. Hope you all have a great time with your families, eating, watching football, and having a break off work or school. Anyways, last week was a pretty solid week for me. If you're looking to watch a certain matchup, timestamps are in the description box below. So click on that match you want to see. Anyways, all 16 teams are going to be playing this week, so we got 16 matches to get to. So without further ado, let's get this video started. We're starting off with our very first matchup. It's tradition that the Detroit Lions and Dallas Cowboys play on Thanksgiving, so we got the 12 o'clock game on Thanksgiving between the Buffalo Bills and the Detroit Lions. Starting out with the Bills, you couldn't even play in Buffalo last week. There was so much snow, so you got relocated over to Detroit. So in there, you pulled off a 31-23 victory over the Cleveland Browns. Josh Allen was solid through for 197 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Lead rush, though, was Devin Singletary with 86 yards and a touchdown, followed by James Cook, who also had 86 yards. Lead receiver was Dawson Knox, 7 receptions, 70 yards, followed by Gabriel Davis, 5 receptions, 68 yards, and then Stephon Diggs, 4 receptions, 48 yards, and a touchdown. That was pretty much it. And the defense, they did a decent job. They shut down the run game of the Cleveland Browns, which was amazing. But they had a little bit of trouble with the pass and nearly blew it in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, you might want to work on that. And then the Lions, just a strong 31-18 victory over the Giants. You've won 3 straight games. Big shock to me. Jared Goff was okay through for 165 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. All he really had to do was game manage. It was all in the run game, though, as you had 160 ground yards on the day, starting off with Justin Jackson with 66 yards, Jamal Williams with 64 yards and 3 touchdowns, followed by DeAndre Swift, 5 receptions, 20 yards, and a touchdown. In terms of receiving, obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown led with 7 receptions, 76 yards. Khalif Raymond, 3 receptions, 33 yards, and then Brandon Wright, 2 receptions, 20 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense, they did a good job at shutting down the New York Giants. They did a good job at shutting down the rush game. Barkley could only muster up 22 yards. So good victory all around. Anyways, Bills, they're 9.5-point favorites to win this one. I feel like this is going to be a big offensive game, but give me the Bills that they win and cover the spread. You have our second Thanksgiving game, a classic NFC East rivalry between the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. Starting out with the Giants, a tough 31-18 loss to the Detroit Lions. Anyways, Daniel Jones, he threw for 341 yards, 1 touchdown, but 2 picks. He also led rushing with 50 yards and a touchdown, but Saquon Barkley, he could only muster up 22 yards, followed by Matt Breida with 13 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was Wan'Dale Robinson, 9 receptions, 100 yards. However, he did get injured, and he is going to be missing a considerable amount of time, which is a huge loss for you guys. Followed up with Darius Slayton, 5 receptions, 86 yards, and then Richie James, 3 receptions, 48 yards, and a touchdown. That was pretty much it. And the defense, they were good at containing the Lions' pass game, but you just could not contain the rush game of the Lions. And then the Cowboys, a dominant 40-3 victory over the Minnesota Vikings. Dak Prescott, he threw for 276 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. It was good enough that Cooper Rush came in to finish out the games. He threw for 31 yards. Lead rusher was Tony Pollard with 80 yards, followed by Ezekiel Elliott with 42 yards and 2 touchdowns. But in the receiving game, Tony Pollard just destroyed it. 6 receptions, 109 yards, and 2 touchdowns. At this point, I feel like he's establishing himself as the number 1 running back, as the Cowboys are having some buyer's remorse for all the money that they paid Ezekiel Elliott. Followed up, CeeDee Lamb, 5 receptions, 45 yards, followed by Nate Brown, 2 receptions, 42 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense, when you hold the Minnesota Vikings to 3 points, that's an accomplishment no matter what. So excellent showing by you guys. Anyways, Cowboys, they're 10-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win, but don't cover the spread. I'm going to say that the Giants keep this one close. Now you have our final Thanksgiving matchup between the New England Patriots and the Minnesota Vikings. Starting off with the Patriots, an insane 10-3 victory over the New York Jets. Mac Jones, he was solid. He threw for 246 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Lead rusher, though, was Damian Harris with 65 yards, followed by Ramondre Stevenson with 26. Also, Ramondre Stevenson led receiving with 6 receptions for 56 yards, followed by Jacoby Myers, 4 receptions, 52 yards, and then Jonnu Smith, 4 receptions, 40 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense, they just did an excellent job at shutting down the New York Jets, but Zach Wilson has been a complete mess. But the biggest highlight of the game, tied 3-3 with about 26 seconds to go. Marcus Jones with the punt return for the game-winning touchdown. It wasn't quite a walk-off, but it was close enough. Just an excellent way to finish it off. And then the Minnesota Vikings, a pathetic 40-3 loss to the Dallas Cowboys. Kirk Cousins barely completed 50% of his passes for 105 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Bad enough that Nick Mullins came in the game, threw for 54 yards. Lead rusher was Dalvin Cook with 72 yards, so a good game from him. Lead receiver, T.J. Hawkinson, 5 receptions, 34 yards, followed by Justin Jefferson, 3 receptions, 33 yards, and then Adam Thielen, 2 receptions, 25 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense, it just got scored by Dak Prescott and Tony Pollard. Very, very tough pill to swallow. Vikings, they're 2.5-point favorites to win this one. But you know what? New England's defense, they've been doing a fine job in these past few games. So give me the Patriots in an upset. You have our very first Sunday matchup, a rematch of Super Bowl 50 between the Denver Broncos and the Carolina Panthers. Starting off with the Broncos, a brutal 22-16 loss to the Las Vegas Raiders. We had Russell Wilson, who threw for 247 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Latavius Murray led rushing with 49 yards and a touchdown. Melvin Gordon with 31 yards. And actually, the Broncos just cut Melvin Gordon, so Latavius Murray's stock increases. It would also increase Javonte Williams' stock if he didn't tear his ACL. Lead receiver, Cortland Sutton, 5 receptions, 80 yards, followed by Kendall Hinton, 3 receptions, 57 yards. And then Melvin Gordon, 5 receptions, 39 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense, I mean, they just had trouble with Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams had a walk-off touchdown in overtime. Now, to be honest, your defense has been great this year. The offense has been terrible. Russell Wilson has more bathrooms in his new house than he does passing touchdowns on the season. If you average 18 points a game on offense, you'd be 8-1. You're averaging about 14 points on offense. Just a pathetic showing. Broncos country, let's ride into a ditch. And then the Panthers, a bad 13-3 loss to the Baltimore Ravens. We had Baker Mayfield, who threw for 196 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. So Sam Darnold, he is going to be getting the start. Oh boy, prayers up, because your quarterback room is an absolute disgrace. Lead rusher was Dante Foreman with 24 yards. No one really mustered up anything in the rush game. Lead receiver was Terrence Marshall, 3 receptions, 76 yards, followed by Shi Smith, 4 receptions, 26 yards, and then Chuba Hubbard, 2 receptions, 25 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense, I mean, to be honest, the only person they really struggled with was Demarcus Robinson. Other than that, they did a great job at keeping the Ravens down, but if your offense had somewhat of a competent QB, you would have won that game. Anyways, Broncos, they're 2.5-point favorites to win this one. I got to stop having faith in them, but I'm going to keep faith in them. Broncos win and cover the spread. And now you have our very next matchup between the Atlanta Falcons and the Washington Commanders. Starting out of the Falcons, a nice 27-24 victory over the Chicago Bears. Marcus Mariota, not his best, though, threw for 131 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Lead rusher was Aguirre with 55 yards, followed by Cordero Patterson with 52. But Cordero Patterson did have a kick return for a touchdown, which is now first all-time, so congratulations out to Patterson, even though Devin Hester is the better return man. Lead receiver, Kyle Pitts, 3 receptions, 43 yards, but he did get injured, and he is going on IR, so a huge loss for them. Followed by Demir Bird, 2 receptions, 29 yards, and then Pruitt, 1 reception, 17 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense, they just, as always, you can shut down the Bears' pass game, but it's hard to stuff the run game. But you did a good job at, trying to keep them down as much as possible on the ground. And then the Commanders, a nice 23-10 victory over the Houston Texans. Taylor Heineke threw for 191 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Lead rusher was Antonio Gibson with 72 yards, followed by Brian Robinson with 57, then Curtis Samuel with 18 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was Logan Thomas, 5 receptions, 65 yards, followed by Terry McLaurin, 4 receptions, 55 yards, and then Antonio Gibson, 3 receptions, 31 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense, the Texans stood no chance against you. You just completely shut that down. Anyways, the Commanders, they're 4-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. And now you have our very next match between the Houston Texans and the Miami Dolphins. The narrative of this match is the Laramie Tunsil trade, as the Dolphins traded away Laramie Tunsil to the Texans and ultimately was a key reason to why the Texans have been downfalling and the Dolphins have been rising since that trade ended up taking place. Starting off with the Texans, a humiliating 23-10 loss to the Washington Commanders. Davis Mills was not good, threw for 169 yards. Nice. No touchdowns, 2 picks, so he did get benched, so Kyle Allen is going to be starting this weekend. Then followed up, Davis Mills led rushing with 10 yards and a touchdown. Dameon Pierce only had 8 yards on the day. Kind of pretty pathetic. Lead receiver was Brandon Cooks, 3 receptions, 70 yards, followed by Nate Collins, 5 receptions, 48 yards, and then Chris Moore, 5 receptions, 20 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense, I mean, they did an okay job. Shut down the pass game, had some trouble against the rush, but Washington's defense was just too much. And then the Dolphins, you were on your bye last week, but last time you played, you pulled out a nice 39-17 victory over the Cleveland Browns. Tua Tagovailoa, he threw for 285 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Lead rusher was Jeff Wilson Jr. with 119 yards and a touchdown, followed by Raheem Mostert with 65 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was Jalen Waddle, 4 receptions, 66 yards, followed by Sherfield, 4 receptions, 63 yards and a touchdown. Alec Ingold, 4 receptions, 45 yards and a touchdown. And then Tyreek Hill, 5 receptions, 44 yards and a touchdown. That was pretty much it. And the defense, they just did a good job. Sure, they had some trouble with the air game, but they did a good job at just shutting down the Cleveland Browns. Anyways, the Dolphins, they're 13-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. I got no trust in Kyle Allen to keep it close. Now you have our very next matchup, a rematch of the 2021 AFC divisional game between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Tennessee Titans. Starting off with the Bengals, you won 37-30 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was a lot closer than it should have been. Joe Burrow had a solid game through for 355 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Lead rusher was Sanjay Perine with 30 yards. Lead receiver was T. Higgins, 9 receptions, 148 yards, followed by Sanjay Perine with 4 receptions, 52 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the day. And then Irwin, 3 receptions, 42 yards, and a touchdown. That was pretty much it. And the defense, it had a lot of trouble against the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is the best performance I've seen from the Steelers this year, at least on offense. If their defense was somehow competent, they could have swept you on the season. So take this victory and run with it. It should not have been that close. And then the Titans, a statement 27-17 victory over the Green Bay Packers. I know there were a lot of doubters going towards the Titans in this game, myself included. Starting off, Ryan Tannehill, okay game, 333 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Derrick Henry, he also threw for 4 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was also Derrick Henry, 87 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was Treylon Burks, 7 receptions, 111 yards. Followed by Robert Woods, 6 receptions, 69 yards. Nice. Derrick Henry, 2 receptions, 45 yards. And then Austin Hooper, 4 receptions, 36 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That was pretty much it. And the defense just completely shut down the Green Bay Packers. You shut down the run game. And when the run game gets shut down, Green Bay's offense can really go nowhere at this point. Anyways, Bengals, they're 2.5-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread, just like the divisional round. Now you have our very next matchup between the Chicago Bears and the New York Jets. Starting off with the Bears, tough 27-24 loss to the Atlanta Falcons. Justin Fields, he threw for 153 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He is injured. He did play through a separated shoulder and his non-throwing shoulder. I mean, people are saying he could be fine, but Baker Mayfield dealt with something like this last season, and it derailed his career, so I'm hoping the same does not happen to Justin Fields. In terms of rushing, he also led with 85 yards and a touchdown, followed by David Montgomery with 67 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver, Dave Montgomery, 3 receptions, 54 yards, followed by Cole Kmet, 3 receptions, 39 yards, and then Darnell Mooney, 4 receptions, 29 yards, and a touchdown. That was pretty much it. And the defense, they had some trouble against the rush, did a great job shutting down the passing game, but ultimately that kick return by Cordero Patterson was just a huge difference maker in why you lost. And then the Jets, a pathetic 10-3 loss. Zach Wilson was terrible, threw for 77 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. He did get benched, took no responsibility for the loss. You think you let the defense down? No, you did let the defense down. You got to admit it. You got to be more mature than that. So in comes Mike White. Lead rush was also Zach Wilson with 26 yards, followed by Michael Carter with 19. Lead receiver was Denzel Mims, 2 receptions, 35 yards, followed by Elijah Moore, 2 receptions, 17 yards, and then Tyler Conklin, 2 receptions, 15 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense, they did a good job against the New England Patriots. Once again, just like the Bears, a punt/kick return was the demise as Marcus Jones returned a punt for a touchdown to win the game. Anyways, Jets, they're currently 6-point favorites to win this one, but I really just don't trust the QB situation. Give me the Bears in an upset. Now you have our very next match between the Cleveland Browns and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Starting off with the Bucs. You were on your bye last week, but last time you played, you pulled out a 21-16 victory in Germany over the Seahawks. Tom Brady had a solid game through for 258 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. He's undefeated ever since he got a divorce with Giselle, so maybe this is the turning point in the season? Who knows? And Leonard Fournette, he threw 1 pass and it got picked off. Just pathetic. Lead rusher was Rachaad White with 105 yards, followed by Leonard Fournette with 57 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver Chris Godwin, 6 receptions, 71 yards, and a touchdown, followed by Mike Evans, 5 receptions, 54 yards. And then Julio Jones, 3 receptions, 53 yards, and a touchdown. That was pretty much it. And the defense, they did a great job at shutting down the Seattle Seahawks. They completely took down the rush game. In the past, they had some trouble with, but in the end, you pulled out the victory. And then the Browns, a tough 31-23 loss to the Buffalo Bills. Jacoby Brissett played very well, threw for 324 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. This is probably going to be his last start this week because Deshaun Watson is eligible to play next week. But in terms of rushing, it was pathetic. Kareem Hunt only mustered up 32 yards, followed by Brissett with 29 and Chubb with 19. You had 80 rushing yards on the day. The Cleveland Browns, they're known for their rush attack, so that is a bit of a concern. I mean, you made up for it in the pass game, but still. Lead receiver Amari Cooper, 8 receptions, 113 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Absolute king. Followed by Donovan Peoples-Jones, 5 receptions, 61 yards, and a touchdown. And then Nick Chubb, 3 receptions, 48 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense, they just had their trouble against Buffalo. Just ultimately could not hold them down. The Buccaneers, they're 3.5-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say they win and cover the spread because the Browns, they are very good with the rush attack, but I think the Buccaneers are just going to shut that down like the Bills did last week. And now you have our very next matchup between the Baltimore Ravens and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Starting off with the Ravens, you won 13-3, but against the Panthers, I would have expected a lot more out of you. Lamar Jackson threw for 209 yards, no touchdowns and a pick. Lead rusher was Kenyon Drake with 46 yards, followed by Lamar Jackson with 31 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was Demarcus Robinson, 9 receptions, 128 yards, followed by Mark Andrews, 6 receptions, 63 yards, and then Hill, 3 receptions, 8 yards. That was pretty much it. But the defense, once again, you shut down the Carolina Panthers, but it's the Panthers. They are just a complete mess right now. And then we move on to the Jags. You were on your bye last week, but you ended up losing to the Chiefs, 27-17. Trevor Lawrence did well, threw for 259 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Lead rush was Travis Etienne. He could only muster up 45 yards. Lead receiver, who else but Christian Kirk, 9 receptions, 105 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Followed by Zay Jones, 8 receptions, 68 yards. And then Marvin Jones Jr., 1 reception, 33 yards. That's pretty much it. And the defense, you got exposed by the Kansas City Chiefs. Not really something I can blame you for because the Chiefs' offense is absolutely electric. Anyways, Ravens, they're 3.5-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. You have our very first 4 o'clock matchup between the LA Chargers and the Arizona Cardinals. Starting off with the Chargers, a tough 30-27 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. Justin Herbert played well, threw for 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. He did throw 1 pick on the final drive. A lot of people are going to blame him, but to be honest, he did an excellent job. The defense completely sold on him. Show some goddamn respect towards Justin Herbert. Anyways, followed up, lead rusher was Austin Eckler with 83 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was Jordan Palmer, 8 receptions, 106 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Keenan Allen, his first game back from injury, played well, 5 receptions, 94 yards. And then DeAndre Carter, 3 receptions, 33 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense, just got completely exposed. Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes just had their way with you all game long, especially on the final drive. And then the Cardinals, a tough 38-10 loss to the San Francisco 49ers in Mexico City. Colt McCoy, not great, threw for 218 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. Lead rusher was James Conner with 42 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was Greg Dortch, 9 receptions, 103 yards, followed by DeAndre Hopkins, 9 receptions, 91 yards, and then A.J. Green, 5 receptions, 50 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense, just got completely exposed by the 49ers. I mean, with the 49ers, when they're healthy on offense, it's impossible to stop them because they have so much firepower, especially in the yards after catch department. Anyways, the Chargers are 3-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. And now you have our very next matchup between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Seattle Seahawks. Starting off with the Raiders, my God, you lived up to potential. You won, but it's against the Broncos. You beat them both times this year. Both of you are complete disappointments. Starting off, Derek Carr, great game, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Lead rusher was Josh Jacobs with 109 yards. Lead receiver, Devontae Adams, 7 receptions, 141 yards, and 2 touchdowns, including the walk-off touchdown in overtime. Followed up with Matt Collins, 6 receptions, 52 yards, and then Josh Jacobs, 3 receptions, 51 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense, they did a good job at keeping down the Denver Broncos, but this is a Broncos country. Let's ride into a ditch because the Broncos suck. There's really no other way around it. And then the Seahawks, you were on your bye last week, but, tough 21-16 loss to the Bucs in London. Geno Smith was okay, threw for 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Lead rusher, though, was Geno Smith with 22 yards, followed by Kenneth Walker with 17. Rush game really got nothing going, so you decide to try to beat them in the air, and you came close. DK Metcalf, 6 receptions, 71 yards. Kenneth Walker, 6 receptions, 55 yards. Tyler Lockett, 3 receptions, 42 yards, and a touchdown. And then Marquise Goodwin, 2 receptions, 38 yards, and a touchdown. That was pretty much it. And the defense, they just did they tried to keep down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but in the end, they just could not. They just couldn't pull it off in the end. Anyways, the Seahawks, they're 4-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. And now you have our very next matchup between the LA Rams and the Kansas City Chiefs. The last time these two teams played against each other, it was a show for the ages. One of the best regular season games in NFL history. Starting off with the Rams, a brutal 27-20 loss to the New Orleans Saints. Matt Stafford threw for 159 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He got injured, so in came in Bryce Perkins, who threw for 64 yards. Lead rusher was Cam Akers with 61 yards, followed by Bryce Perkins with 39, and Williams with 36 yards. Lead receiver was Tutu Atwell, 1 reception, 62 yards, and a touchdown, followed by Allen Robinson, 4 receptions, 47 yards, and a touchdown. And then Tyler Higbee, 4 receptions, 45 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense just could not handle the New Orleans Saints. So, yeah, y'all can suck it. Take the L. Who Dat Nation on top, baby. You can suck it. And then the Kansas City Chiefs, a nice 30-27 victory over the LA Chargers. Patrick Mahomes, great game. Threw for 329 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Lead rusher was Isaiah Pacheco with 107 yards. Lead receiver, who else but Travis Kelce, 6 receptions, 115 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Followed by Watson, 3 receptions, 67 yards. And then Sean Moore, 5 receptions, 63 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense, they had some trouble against the LA Chargers. Like, the Chargers put up an excellent fight, but they just fell short. Chiefs, they're 15-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say they win, but don't cover the spread. I'm going to say this is going to be a bit of an offensive showdown, but the Chiefs are going to pull out on top. Because 15 points, that's a big spread. And now you have our very next matchup, a rematch of the 2011 NFC divisional game between my boys in the New Orleans Saints and the San Francisco 49ers. Starting off with the Saints, a big 27-20 victory over the LA Rams. Andy Dalton played fine, threw for 260 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Lead rusher was Taysom Hill with 52 yards, followed by Alvin Kamara with 42 yards. Lead receiver Chris Olave, 5 receptions, 102 yards, and a touchdown, followed by Jawan Johnson, 3 receptions, 47 yards, and a touchdown. And then Alvin Kamara, 4 receptions, 47 yards. And finally, Jarvis Landry, 3 receptions, 33 yards, and a touchdown. That was pretty much it. And the defense, we did a fine job at keeping down the LA Rams. They have a lot of injuries, but for us, we had a whole lot of injuries on defense as well. A ton of guys did return to practice today on the offensive and defensive side, so that is going to be huge for the Saints in our late season push. The only thing I'm going to bash us for was the 62-yard bomb to Tutu Atwell. Other than that, excellent job, boys. And then the Niners, nice 38-10 victory over the Arizona Cardinals. Jimmy Garoppolo threw for 228 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Lead rusher was Elijah Mitchell with 59 yards, followed by Christian McCaffrey with 39, and then Deebo Samuel with 37 rushing yards and a touchdown. Good job by him. Lead receiver was George Kittle, 4 receptions, 84 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That lost me fantasy. Screw you, Mitch. I know you're watching this, buddy. I still hate you for that. And then Christian McCaffrey, 7 receptions, 67 yards, followed by Deebo Samuel, 7 receptions, 57 yards. And then Brandon Ayuk, 2 receptions, 20 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That was pretty much it. And the defense, outside of a little trouble against Greg Dortch and DeAndre Hopkins, excellent game played. Anyways, Niners, they're 9-point favorites to win this one, but come on. The Who Dat Nation, going to pull off the upset of the week. Am I biased? Yes. Am I doing this despite my dad and my friend Mitch? Yes, I am. I know you're both probably watching this. You guys can suck it. I'm not sorry. Saints with the upset. And now you have our Sunday Night Football matchup, a rematch of the 2003 NFC divisional game between the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles, otherwise known as 4th and 26. Still can't believe that the Eagles converted that, even though it's been a long, long time. Anyway, starting off with the Packers, a tough 27-17 loss to the Tennessee Titans. Pretty humiliating on Thursday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers threw for 227 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Lead rush was Aaron Jones with 40 yards, followed by A.J. Dillon with 13. How many times do I need to tell you guys? Run the ball. Good things happen to Green Bay when you run the ball. You clearly don't have it with the pass game right now. I mean, sure, Christian Watson's emerging as a nice receiver, but run the ball. Good things happen. Lead receiver, Randall Cobb, 6 receptions, 73 yards, followed by Allen Lazard, 5 receptions, 57 yards, and then Christian Watson, 4 receptions, 48 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's pretty much it. And the defense just got completely exposed by the Tennessee Titans by Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, and Treylon Burks. And then the Philadelphia Eagles, you won 17-16 over the Colts, although that was way closer than it should have been. Jalen Hurts threw for 190 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Lead rush was also Jalen Hurts with 86 yards and a touchdown, followed by Miles Sanders with 47 yards. Lead receiver, Devontae Smith, 6 receptions, 78 yards, followed by A.J. Brown, 5 receptions, 60 yards. And then Quez Watkins, 2 receptions, 31 yards, and a touchdown. That was pretty much it. And the defense, they did a good job. I mean, they did a good job at trying to keep the Colts down. I mean, the offense nearly sold on you guys, but you just pulled out the victory. Eagles, they're 6.5-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say they win, but don't cover the spread. I'm going to say that the Packers, it's going to be a strong rushing game between both teams, but Eagles, they're going to pull out the victory. Now you have our Monday Night Football matchup, a rematch of the 2006 AFC divisional game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Indianapolis Colts. Starting off with the Steelers, I mean, you lost 37-30, but that was a solid game that you played, at least on offense. Kenny Pickett was solid through for 265 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Lead rush was Najee Harris with 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. Lead receiver George Pickens, 4 receptions, 83 yards, and a touchdown, followed by Pat Freiermuth, 8 receptions, 79 yards. And then Greg Olszewski, 2 receptions, 39 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense just did not play well. You squandered an amazing game that your offense played. It's a miracle that your offense even showed up to this game. So I would have expected way more out of the defense. So disappointing loss. I mean, I expected you to lose, but the way that you played, it's a disappointment. And then the Indianapolis Colts fell short to the Eagles, 17-16. Matt Ryan looked solid through for 213 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Lead rush was Jonathan Taylor with 84 yards and a touchdown, followed by lead receiver Michael Pittman Jr., 6 receptions, 75 yards, followed by Paris Campbell, 5 receptions, 67 yards, and then Alec Pierce, 3 receptions, 28 yards. That was pretty much it. And the defense, I mean, they kept down the Philadelphia Eagles, but they just broke in the fourth quarter. Anyways, the Colts are 2.5-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. And that is going to wrap up my video for today. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you want to watch my last video, click right over here. If you like this video, drop a like, subscribe to my channel by clicking over here, or the subscribe button down below. Comment down below what your thoughts were on this video. Who's your upset of the week, lock of the week, favorite team going to win. Anyways, follow me on all my social medias, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok, at Brendan Suter. Thank you all for watching. Happy Thanksgiving out towards my American viewers. Peace out.